Rob Tebbutt here for ID Boxing. Delighted to be joined by unbeaten super middleweight prospect Diego Pacheco. Diego, welcome to the UK.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Happy to be here, and looking forward to a great week of fighting. And Saturday night gonna be a great fight.
I'm going to try and keep this somewhat fresh. I know you've done several interviews with several people up to this point, but I'll try and keep you somewhat interested. I'll do my best. Headline event now. Callum Smith, unfortunately, is not fighting Pavel Stepien. Does that add a little bit of extra motivation for you?
Yeah, definitely. I've never headlined a professional show before, so that's real exciting. I was looking forward to fighting under Callum Smith. Great fighter who I really look up to. But unfortunately, things happened, and now I'm headlining alongside Davis, and I couldn't be more happy. Looking forward to a great night of fighting, and yeah, man, just looking to adding another great win to my resume.
You've kind of boxed here, there, and everywhere as a professional. Of course, you turned pro in Mexico. I want to talk about that first and foremost. I spoke to Devin Haney about when he made his professional debut in Mexico, and he said, yeah, it's a little bit different compared to what he's grown accustomed to in the US. What was your debut like in Mexico?
Yeah, it was definitely different. Mexico is I remember I fought guys that were from the hometown where I was fighting, so I was in a hostile territory, kind of like here. I remember they over there they like to cheer for the underdog. They like to cheer for the B-side fighter. So that was a little different, but a great experiences nonetheless. I felt I needed that experience, and it helped me get better, and it helped me learn to not worry about the crowd and not care about that, and just lock in what I'm doing, and there's no difference here in the UK. I feel I'm in hostile territory, and I will be booed fight night, but I just gotta block that off and focus on what I do.
You mentioned hostile territory. Any in particular thing that kind of sticks in the memory that when you think about your professional debut?
My first two fights were in TJ, so not my debut was smooth. Got him out of there in the first round. But the second fight, it was a guy who was 1-0. He was tough. I just remember him, hitting him with everything, and him taking every punch. That was just frustrating. I was 17 at the time. I'm not as mature as I am now. I'm not as experienced as I am now. So that was a tough fight for me in my eyes. I won every round clearly, but it was just frustrating. I wanted to get that knockout, and yeah, that was it, man. Apart from that, just another learning experience, and helped me get to where I'm at now.
You mentioned that being very young, obviously making your professional debut at 17. You had enormous success as an amateur as well, very distinguished career. Was it always the kind of the goal to go pro as early as possible, or did you have that Olympic dream as some fighters do?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I had the Olympic dream, and when I turned pro, I wasn't, I never planned to turn pro at 17. It was more of a it just happened, I remember I was trying to be an Olympic medalist from Mexico. That was my ultimate dream, Mexico hasn't had a gold medalist in I don't know how long, so that's something I wanted to accomplish. But, for a few reasons that couldn't happen. I didn't want to live in Mexico for 2 years, 3 years. I wanted to stay, in LA in the United States. So my other option was to turn pro, and that's what we did. I turned pro. I was lucky enough to get a few offers before I turned pro. So even when I was fighting down in TJ, I was already signed to Matchroom. I was already getting their support and their guidance. So yeah, it's not like I went to TJ to try to build anything. Matchroom was guiding me, and they were taking care of me. And yeah, I couldn't be more thankful for them for guiding me the correct way and having me here headline in the UK now.
I remember you being part of like the rollout of kind of young amateurs at the time. There was yourself, Nikita Ababi, Ray Ford, a few others I'm sure have kind of missed out there. What was it about Matchroom and Eddie Hearn that tempted you to sign here? You mentioned that you had several other offers. What was it about Matchroom?
Just the way they put out the negotiations, and the way that their plans sounded were great. Everything that they promised they've done, and yeah, man, I just couldn't be happier to be with Matchroom. It's great people, great everything. Now they have me here in the UK. I fought in Saudi Arabia, I fought in Mexico, I've in LA. In the US, I fought in nothing but the biggest shows. In Madison Square Garden, Staples Center. Every major event. So yeah, I just couldn't be more grateful for that.
I remember watching you box out in Saudi. I was there for that, and I was there for the most recent one as well with Usyk. So it was quite a different sort of atmosphere. You were outdoors in Diriyah. What was that like? What did you make of that whole experience? Because it is quite a different fight week out there.
Yeah, it was definitely different. But it was great. It was a great experience. I remember being under Andy Ruiz and Joshua. That was a really big fight. It was the second one, where Joshua won his titles back. I just remember I was a swing bout, and I was fortunate enough to be like I say I'm co-main event, even though I really wasn't co-main event. They put me right before the main event, and that was great. You know, it was a packed arena. You know, everyone on TV was tuned in, and yeah, that just helped my fan base grow a lot, and I couldn't be more grateful for that. You know, like I said, everything happens for a reason. You know, now here I'm headlining. It wasn't supposed to happen that way, but now it's happening that way, and yeah, man, I'm just ready to put on a great performance and really make the most of it. You know.
I remember at the time, because usually sometimes you sit through a whole show and you get to the main event and they bring the swing bat out, everyone's like, ah. But you got rid of him. It was a spectacular stoppage as well. So I think I'll speak of everybody's behalf and say well done on that occasion. Right, before we move on, you mentioned there about Madison Square Garden, you mentioned Canelo undercards and what have you. Where's your favourite place that you've boxed? Of course, before you box in Liverpool, because I'm sure that's going to be number one.
I would say Staples Center in LA. You know, that's my hometown. That's, as a little kid, I dreamt of fighting there. You know, this is the biggest. It was the biggest arena at the time. Now they have the SoFi Stadium, which is a lot bigger. But yeah, that was one of my dreams, just to fight there, and I did it at 18. You know, it was funny that it's under KSI and Logan Paul undercard, but nonetheless, I fought at the Staples Center and I got a fourth round knockout. It was a great win. Had my family and friends there supporting me, and yeah, I think that's been the best place that I've fought in so far.
You mentioned kind of that you watched fighters there growing up, and you're from the area. I mean, Oscar De La Hoya, fighters of that ilk around that sort of time. Were they the fighters that you tuned into? Were they your big inspirations growing up?
Yeah, definitely. You know, Oscar De La Hoya, a great fighter that I looked up to my whole life. You know, from LA as well. Juan Manuel Marquez. You know, a lot of fighters from Mexican descent, because that's what my dad kind of put me on to. You know, my dad grew up being a big boxing supporter. So you know, that's where my love from boxing started, and my dad put me into boxing when I was 10 years old. So ever since, it's just been boxing for me. You know, it's just been locked in on what I want to become and what I want to be, and that's why I'm here today. You know, just another fight, another highlight reel, another dominant performance to get me closer to where I need to be.
You're a big man at the weight, at super middleweight, even for kind of the modern age of S&C and stuff. You're still very big for the weight. How long do you envision staying there for? I mean, you're still very young, so obviously I'm sure your body has that elasticity where I'm sure you'll be able to do it for a little while, but you've got the frame. Is light heavyweight something that you'd look at in the future?
Yeah, definitely. You know, light heavyweight, maybe even cruiserweight when I'm a lot older. But for sure, you know, super middleweight is where I'm comfortable right now. You know, I look forward to competing against the best in this weight. You know, hopefully winning world titles, then unifying against other champions, and you know, may hopefully becoming undisputed in the division, and then moving up to light heavyweight and competing against the best guys in that weight as well. And like I said, become world champion, win multiple titles, and then, you know, maybe towards the end of my career, maybe I can move up to cruiserweight. You know, we'll see what happens. I do feel like I'm still growing. You know, I'm still barely 21 years old, so I don't see why not. You know, I'm 6'4", so yeah, I think it's definitely possible.
You mentioned that you're only 21. Last year had a very successful year. 4 fights, 4 wins, 4 stoppages. Didn't see you on any of those end-of-year awards for Prospect of the Year, though. I didn't see Diego Pacheco's name pipe up there. Is that something that, do you pay any attention to that? Does it give you any added motivation, or is it just one of those things you put to the side?
I definitely do look at everything. You know, I mean, this is what I do. This is my life. So I do look at all that. It does motivate me. You know, I do look forward to this year, hopefully, winning that Prospect of the Year, because I think because of my age, a lot of people still do consider me a prospect, even though I'm 17-0 with 14 knockouts now. But I feel after this year, you know, great performances, just like I did last year, will for sure put me as Prospect of the Year, and next year hopefully, you know, become a contender and fight for those big names and those big titles.
So Jack Cullen, it was kind of like Diego Pacheco, Jack Cullen. You put them together, and I thought, yeah, it's quite interesting. But you're not 2 names that I would have necessarily thrown together. How much do you know of him? What are you expecting of him?
I know he's a good fighter. You know, he was once an undefeated prospect as well. I mean, he's a good fighter, you know, nonetheless. I think hopefully he's had a great training camp. Hopefully he brings the best Diego Pacheco out of me. And yeah, I just look forward to another great fight, another great learning experience, and just getting this win and moving on to the next one.
Now, I know that you've been asked these questions several times. I'm going to try and make them nice and quick. Jose Benavidez Sr., who's, of course, your trainer. I know you moved there just over a year ago or so now. How are you settling in? How do you feel that you've developed under his guidance?
I feel like in the short year that I've been with him, I've learned a lot, you know, more than all the years that I was in my other camp, you know. just being around a guy who's brought his kids from zero to becoming world champions, that speaks for itself. I feel he has the resume to become the best, and that's why I'm with him. I've learned a lot. I've gotten better since I've been with him. You guys have seen it on my most recent performances, and this one's going to be no different. I feel every camp I've been getting better, and every fight is just a learning experience for me. And looking forward to this Saturday, just adding another great performance to my resume, and just moving on to becoming what I know I will become.
What specifically, if you don't mind going into it, do you feel like he's helped you with a lot? I mean, you're still very, very young. You had, as I mentioned, that success as an amateur. Is it just settle into the pro style, so to speak? Or if not, what have been the main things that you've taken away from working with him?
I come from LA, and LA there's a lot, it's Hollywood, there's a lot of distractions. It's easy to fall down the wrong route, or like I said, just one day get distracted, and one little mistake can cause you to lose everything, So just being in Seattle, being focused, his guidance of, his kids have been through a lot, his fighters have been through a lot, so just kind of learning from them and getting, tips and things like that from his kids have helped me a lot, and I think that's the main thing. A lot of when I first went down to Seattle, I felt that's when I first saw a real training camp. It was definitely different from what I was used to, and getting accustomed to that was a little hard at first. But now I feel I'm just there with them, and just getting better every single day.
What's it like training alongside David? Of course, one of the best super middleweights in the world, former 2-time WBC champion. Must learn a lot working alongside somebody as experienced and as high quality as him.
Yeah, definitely. He's one of the best in the division. I've been able to be his main sparring partner for his past 5 camps. So definitely have done thousands of rounds with him. I've learned a lot from him. After every single sparring session, he gives me tips. I tell him what's working for him or what could work better, and he does the same thing with me. And I couldn't be happy doing it with anyone else. I feel he's one of the best, and yeah, man, just thankful for all the help and all the guidance that he's given me.
What's it like being in the ring with him? Everybody talks about his volume, the fact that he's another guy who's very, very big at the weight as well. Are those the kind of the key attributes from him? His punching, I mean, his punch output's massive, and obviously he can punch a bit as well.
Yeah, he's strong. He throws a lot of punches. But he has a lot of skills as well. He has good defense. He can move. He's really smart in there, and I feel a lot of people haven't seen that yet. But we'll probably see that this fight with Caleb. I think it's gonna be a great fight. I think Benavidez stops him, and yeah, man. Hopefully he gets that Canelo fight next after that, because I think he deserves it.
Canelo's also somebody who you shared the ring with in sparring. I heard you did rather well in those spars.
Yeah, it was a great experience. Working with Canelo as well. I was part of his camp for the Callum Smith fight. I just remember him being defensive a lot. Not too much offense. A lot of head movement, just blocking and moving, and things like that. But nonetheless, great work, great experience. Learned a lot, and yeah, I mean, not many people can say they shared the ring with Canelo. So yeah, man, I'm grateful for that opportunity as well.
You know where it's going. Canelo versus David Benavidez. If Benavidez does get past Caleb Plant on March the 25th, how do you see that fight playing out?
I think that's a 50-50 fight. Both great fighters. I think number 1 and 2 in the division, and yeah, man. Hopefully we get that fight, because the whole world wants to see it, and it's definitely be a great fight.
It's kind of like the new era of the super middleweight division now. Canelo's picked up all 4 belts. Well done, by the way. There, you did very well sitting on the fence. I enjoyed it. It's kind of this new era of the super middleweight division. You had Canelo kind of go and mop up all the belts undisputed. I know David's still relatively young, but Caleb Plant's kind of not towards the end of his career, but he's an experienced campaigner. Then you've got like yourself, David Morrell, like those guys coming through. Exciting kind of era, I think, on the verge of in the super middleweight division.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of great fighters at the moment at 168. There's a lot of time to make a lot of great fights, and I couldn't be happier to be part of it all. I'm looking forward to growing, looking forward to competing against the best, and yeah, man, just I feel I will come out on top every time. I believe in myself, and my skills, and my God-given talents, and my hard work. All that put together, I don't see anyone beating me.
Okay, well, we look forward to seeing it. So before I let you go, what can you tell fans to expect this weekend when you headline against Jack Cullen in sunny old Liverpool?
Just another great performance. You know, I've been delivering dominant performances, highlight real knockouts, and this fight won't be no different. You know, I look forward to put on a great fight. You know, hopefully winning over some UK fans.
I'm sure you will. Diego Pacheco, thanks very much for your time. Look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.